The night air hung heavy with anticipation outside Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. September 10th, 1992. The Dangerous World Tour had been making headlines across America, each performance more spectacular than the last. Now, as 55,000 people filed through the gates, the electric anticipation was almost tangible, a living, breathing entity that moved through the crowd like a current. Families clutched tickets they'd waited months to purchase. Teenagers with tears already streaming down their faces pushed toward the barricades. Longtime fans compared stories of previous concerts, of Thriller-era Michael, of Victory Tour memories. Security guards exchanged knowing glances. They'd seen the hysteria before, but somehow Michael Jackson crowds were different, more reverent, more diverse, more united in their devotion. As darkness fell completely, the massive stadium lights dimmed one by one, like stars being extinguished from the night sky. The crowd's roar built from a low rumble to a deafening wall of sound. Then, absolute darkness, absolute silence. 55,000 people holding their breath as one. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. The anticipation was almost painful. Then, a single explosion of pyrotechnics shot toward the heavens, illuminating the entire stadium in a brilliant flash of white light. When the light faded and vision returned, there he stood, Michael Jackson, motionless as a statue, silhouetted against the remaining wisps of smoke, head bowed, arms at his sides. The silver armbands on his black jacket caught the light like distant stars. The crowd's response was visceral, primal. It wasn't just screaming. It was a collective release of emotion that seemed to physically shake the stadium's foundation. Michael remained completely still, absorbing the energy, the moment suspended in time. Then, with precision that seemed almost superhuman, the band struck the opening chord of Jam, and Michael's body came alive. Every movement deliberate, every gesture precisely choreographed, yet somehow spontaneous. The audience watched in awe as he commanded the stage, his presence filling every corner of the massive venue. The setlist unfolded like chapters in a spellbinding story. Jam, into Wanna Be Startin' Something, then Human Nature, Smooth Criminal, and Billie Jean. With each song, the connection between performer and audience grew stronger, the invisible thread binding them pulling tighter. Those who had seen Michael perform before knew they were witnessing something special. There was an intensity to his movements tonight, a fire in his eyes that suggested he was giving even more than his legendary 100%. By the time the opening notes of Black or White filled the stadium, the audience was completely under Michael's spell. This song, still fresh from its controversial and groundbreaking video released the previous year, carried particular weight in 1992 America. As Michael sang about unity and breaking down barriers, the 55,000 people of every age, race, and background moved as one body, connected by the music and the message. The massive screens projected images of global unity as Michael's voice soared over the driving rock beat. The energy in Giant Stadium reached a fever pitch as the song built toward its climax. Michael moved across the stage with otherworldly grace, his band locked in perfect synchronicity behind him. It was during this peak moment of collective euphoria that something unexpected caught Michael's eye. Something that wasn't part of the meticulously planned production. Something that would transform an already extraordinary concert into a night that would be remembered and recounted for decades to come. Near the front of the general admissions section, a disturbance was unfolding. Security personnel were converging on a particular area, their movements urgent yet controlled. From his vantage point on stage, Michael noticed the commotion immediately. Though he continued performing, his professionalism never wavering, his eyes kept returning to that section. Those closest to the stage could see the subtle change in his expression, the momentary flashes of concern between lyrics. As Black or White reached its final chorus, Michael made a split-second decision that surprised everyone. His band, his dancers, his production team, and the 55,000 people hanging on his every move. He raised his hand in a decisive gesture. the universal signal to stop. The band, consummate professionals attuned to Michael's every cue, brought the music to a clean conclusion rather than the extended outro that had been rehearsed. For a moment, confusion rippled through the stadium. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't part of the carefully crafted Michael Jackson experience. Something unplanned was happening. Hold on, Michael said, his voice soft yet perfectly clear through the stadium sound system. He moved to the edge of the stage, one hand shielding his eyes from the intense spotlights. What's happening down there? Is someone hurt? The stadium fell silent with remarkable speed. 55,000 people holding their collective breath, watching as their idol paused his own concert out of concern for a single member of the audience. The head of security approached the stage and spoke briefly to Michael, inaudible to the crowd. Michael listened intently, nodded, then turned back to the audience. His voice, when he spoke again, carried a gentle authority that commanded attention without demanding it. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "we have a situation here that needs our attention and our compassion." The main spotlight shifted from Michael to illuminate an area near the front where security had created a small clearing in the dense crowd. There, a young man in a wheelchair was visible, his face streaked with tears. He appeared to be in his late teens, thin and fragile-looking, wearing a homemade T-shirt with Michael's image painted on it. Beside him stood a woman, his mother, as the crowd would later learn, looking simultaneously apologetic and protective. The young man's wheelchair had been accidentally pushed and jostled as the crowd surged forward during black or white, nearly tipping him over. Though he hadn't been injured, the experience had been terrifying. Security had intervened quickly, but the incident had clearly left the young man shaken. The spotlight revealing this scene created a perfect circle of illumination in the darkened stadium, like a spotlight on humanity itself amidst the spectacle of entertainment. "What's your name, young man?" Michael asked, his voice gentle. A security guard quickly brought a microphone to the teenager. "David," came the reply, his voice thin and trembling. "David Martinez." Michael's response was immediate and warm. "David," he repeated, the name becoming something musical in his pronunciation. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" David shook his head. "I'm okay," he managed to say, clearly overwhelmed to be speaking directly with Michael Jackson in front of 55,000 people. I couldn't see very well, and then people started pushing." His voice trailed off. The woman beside him, his mother, leaned toward the microphone. "We've been looking forward to this night for so long," she explained, her voice carrying the slight tremor of someone trying very hard to maintain composure. "David has muscular dystrophy. This concert, seeing you, it means everything to him." The stadium remained eerily silent. In a venue built for roaring crowds and deafening music, you could now hear the sound of the night breeze moving through the open air. Michael stood motionless for a long moment, his expression unreadable from a distance. Then, to everyone's surprise, he sat down on the edge of the stage, his legs dangling like a child's. This simple action, the biggest star in the world making himself smaller, more accessible, sent a ripple of emotion through the crowd. "David," Michael said, "I'm so sorry that happened to you. Everyone deserves to enjoy the music. Everyone deserves to feel safe." He turned to address the entire stadium, his voice taking on a new intensity. "We're all here tonight to celebrate life, to celebrate music, to celebrate each other. That means looking out for one another. That means making sure everyone can share in the joy without fear." The crowd responded with applause that built slowly, then swelled into something thunderous. Michael waited for it to subside, then made a gesture that would become the defining moment of the night. "David," he said, "would you like to watch the rest of the show from up here? With me?" The question hung in the air for a breathless moment. David's expression shifted from disbelief to overwhelming emotion. Unable to speak, he simply nodded, tears streaming freely down his face now. His mother's hand flew to her mouth, her own composure finally breaking. Michael turned to his production manager, who was already moving, already making the necessary arrangements. For security personnel, gently made their way through the crowd to David and his mother. With great care, they lifted David, still in his wheelchair, and began the process of bringing him to the stage. During this transition, Michael did something extraordinary. He turned to the audience and spoke from the heart, without rehearsal, without calculation. While we're waiting for David to join us, he said, I want to tell you something important, something I believe with all my heart. The stadium remained hushed, 55,000 people leaning forward to catch every word. We talk a lot about healing the world. We sing about making a better place. But that change, that healing, it starts right here, right now, with how we treat each other. It starts with seeing each other, really seeing each other. His voice grew more passionate with each word. When you leave here tonight, I want you to remember this feeling, this connection we have right now. I want you to take it with you. I want you to extend it to everyone you meet, because that's how we change things. One moment, one person, one act of love at a time. If this story moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more moments that reveal the true heart of Michael Jackson. Not just as an entertainer, but as a human being who understood that real connection transcends fame. By now, security had successfully navigated the complex journey from the floor to the stage. With gentle precision, they lifted David in his wheelchair onto the massive stage. His mother followed, looking both awestruck and deeply moved. The crowd erupted in applause once more, a sound like rolling thunder that filled the New Jersey night. Michael approached David slowly, respectfully. He knelt beside the wheelchair, bringing himself to eye level with the teenager who had endured so much to be there that night. Though the stadium's microphones couldn't capture their private exchange, those closest to the stage would later report that Michael asked David what his favorite song was. When David answered Man in the Mirror, Michael smiled, that radiant, childlike smile that could illuminate the darkest corners of existence. He stood and addressed the band. Change of plans, he announced. We're playing Man in the Mirror next. For my friend David. What followed was a performance unlike any other in the Dangerous World Tour. Michael performed Man in the Mirror with an intensity and emotion that transcended even his usual standard of excellence. He sang directly to David at times, including him in subtle ways, a gesture here, a smile there, a moment of eye contact during a particularly powerful lyric. The crowd responded to this authentic human connection with an energy that was palpable. This wasn't just a concert anymore. This wasn't just entertainment. This was something deeper, something more profound, a moment of genuine human connection amplified by the presence of 55,000 witnesses. As the song built toward its emotional climax, Michael did something that left an indelible mark on everyone present. During the bridge, as the music softened momentarily, he removed the single sequined glove from his right hand, that iconic symbol recognized worldwide, and gently placed it in David's lap. The gesture was captured on the massive screens surrounding the stadium, prompting a wave of emotional response from the crowd. Some cheered, some wept openly, all recognized the significance of what they were witnessing. The concert continued with renewed purpose, a deeper connection now binding performer and audience. David and his mother remained on stage, positioned safely to the side where they had the best view in the house. Throughout the remainder of the show, Michael would occasionally move in their direction, performing a sequence of dance moves or delivering a particular lyric with David clearly in mind. During Heal the World, he invited David to join in the chorus, holding the microphone to allow the teenager's voice, thin but determined, to join his own. The 55,000 people in Giant Stadium that night witnessed something rare and precious. Vulnerability, compassion, and genuine human connection on a scale grand enough to fill a stadium, yet intimate enough to touch individual hearts. As the concert neared its conclusion, Michael addressed the audience one final time. Before we finish tonight, he said, I want to thank all of you for your patience, your understanding, and most importantly, your love. What happened here tonight? He glanced at David, who was clutching the sequined glove like the treasure it was. This is what it's all about. This is why we're here. To connect, to lift each other up, to remind each other that we're not alone. The crowd's response was overwhelming, a wave of emotion that seemed to physically move through the stadium. In that moment, 55,000 strangers were united by something more powerful than music, more enduring than celebrity. They were united by the recognition of shared humanity, by the simple yet profound truth that compassion can bridge any divide. As the final notes of "Will You Be There" echoed through Giant Stadium, Michael knelt beside David one last time. He whispered something in the teenager's ear, words that David would keep private for many years afterward, describing them only as the most important words anyone has ever said to me. Then, in a gesture that brought the crowd to its feet one final time, Michael himself pushed David's wheelchair toward the backstage area, guiding him with gentle care as the stadium erupted in thunderous applause. The press coverage in the days that followed attempted to capture what had transpired that September night in New Jersey. The New York Times called it a moment of rare authenticity in an era of manufactured sentiment. Rolling Stone described it as the purest distillation of Jackson's humanitarian philosophy, the man literally living his message in real time before 55,000 witnesses. But newspaper articles and magazine features could never fully convey the electric atmosphere, the collective holding of breath, the tears that flowed freely throughout Giant Stadium, or the profound sense that something important had happened, something that transcended entertainment and touched on deeper truths about human connection and compassion. Those who were present spoke of it for years afterward, describing not just Michael Jackson's extraordinary performance, but the moment when the music stopped and something more essential took center stage. David Martinez returned home to Philadelphia with the sequined glove carefully preserved in a protective case, a tangible reminder of a night that had changed his life. In interviews given years later, he would explain how that moment of recognition, of being truly seen by someone he had idolized from afar, had transformed his relationship with his disability. Before that night, he would say, "I often felt invisible. After what Michael did, I never felt invisible again." The glove became more than memorabilia. It became a symbol of dignity recognized, of humanity affirmed. David eventually became an advocate for disability rights, frequently citing that night at Giant Stadium as the catalyst for his activism. "Michael didn't just give me a glove," he would tell audiences. "He gave me a voice. He showed 55,000 people that I mattered, that we all matter." If you've been touched by this story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who appreciate these glimpses into the true character of Michael Jackson. For Michael, the incident at Giant Stadium became emblematic of his approach to performance and to life. Though he rarely spoke publicly about specific moments from his concerts, those closest to him noted that he often referenced the night in New Jersey when discussing the purpose behind his music and his message. His longtime choreographer would later recall Michael saying, "That's why we do this. Not for the spectacle, for the connection, for the moments when the music becomes something more." In a career defined by groundbreaking achievements and unparalleled success, it was this human element, this capacity for genuine compassion, that perhaps best illustrated the man behind the legend. The sequin glove given to David Martinez that night was far from the only piece of Michael Jackson memorabilia in existence. There were other gloves, other costumes, other artifacts preserved in museums and private collections around the world. But this particular glove carried a story that transcended its material value. It carried the memory of a night when the biggest star in the world paused everything to ensure that one young man in a wheelchair knew that he mattered. Today, visitors to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland can find a small, easily overlooked display in the section dedicated to moments of extraordinary human connection in music history. There, among photographs and artifacts from decades of concert performances, sits a simple black and white image. Michael Jackson kneeling beside David Martinez's wheelchair on the Giant Stadium stage, 55,000 people looking on in reverent silence. Beneath the photograph is a caption that reads only, September 10th, 1992. The night the music stopped, and something more important began. It serves as a quiet reminder that beyond the record-breaking albums, beyond the revolutionary videos, Beyond the unprecedented global fame, Michael Jackson will also be remembered for moments like these. Moments when compassion took center stage, when the simple recognition of another person's dignity created a memory that would resonate long after the echoes of the music had faded into silence. In the final accounting of an extraordinary life, perhaps that is the most meaningful legacy of all.